So welcome back, everybody, to another Purpose Served podcast episode. I have Grace here with me. She's actually doing us a huge favor right now. She's recording the podcast on her end. We just had difficulties for pretty much I don't want to say the last 45 minutes, but she's stuck in there with me. And pretty much I learned a lot from her as of recent. This is the first time, you guys, that I ever meditated. I sat down, deliberately meditated for such a decent amount of time, more than 5 to 10 minutes, and just sat there and for 30 minutes. And she was the person that, guided me through it and made those 30 minutes, made it seem like it was 2 minutes. And it was really being actively engaged in the moment and being observant of your emotions, how you're feeling, and what you plan on getting out of your day. And that's just one little aspect from it. So it was a profound experience, But if you want to introduce yourself, go right ahead.
Thank you for that great introduction. And it was so fun and exciting to have you join. So thank you for being there. And I feel really honored to be the first person to walk you through that. But yeah, my name is Grace Ballou. I'm a social worker. I just graduated actually from my master's program in May, and I'm licensed here in the state of Maryland, but I work actually in Virginia. I started this mindfulness practice through an interesting journey. I started practicing mindfulness on my own when I was about 19 or 20. And I actually learned it from a therapist who also had a social work background. And she really had a different take on it than I'd ever seen or heard before. And she just...
what was it?
So she introduced it to me, and I kind of, to be honest, I was so skeptical. I was that's not my jam. I'm not gonna sit here and be that's not me. And I just wasn't interested in it at all. And she sort of rephrased it for me as no, you can do things mindfully, or you can meditate, or there's so many different options. It doesn't have to just be meditation, and they can look different than the meditation that you have in your mind, what you think of when you think of meditation. It can be really different, kind of like what we did isn't really a classic meditation.
Not at all.
I learned that it's really being with your feelings and learning how to be with your feelings and learning how to be with yourself and accepting all parts of you. And so I learned that through her, and I, started just doing that individually, and then continued my practice. In my master's program, there was a class. So I took that as an elective. And then when I accepted my final year field placement, which is actually where I work now, they already had a mindfulness program. So I work for a mental health program that provides services to their employees. So it's called an employee assistance program for a public school system in a county. And they already had a mindfulness program set up when I got employed there. And the person sort of took me under their wing, also a social worker. And then I just fell in love with it. I mean, I already had my own practice. And then over the past year and a half, they kind of just gave me the program to run with, especially during COVID. It kind of became my program. So I got a lot of experience through that with that supervision, and they helped me. They're like, you should just do this on your own. And they all supported me and helped me get this going. So I couldn't be more thankful to them either. So yeah, that's kind of the story of Practice with Grace, but we're just getting started, really. So I'm excited for what's to come.
So how did it last year, in the beginning of the pandemic, when that's had to be around a year and a half ago, when everything started happening for you. So that had to be a crazy transition in your life around that point.
Yeah, it was crazy, and also kind of serendipitous, because it really allowed me the opportunity. I don't think I would have gotten the opportunity that I did if it hadn't been to everything that was going on. So I have to like find some gratitude in that situation, because they really needed my help. They were like overwhelmed and they couldn't do everything. So they were like, Grace, you take these things, you know what we're doing, we trust you. And it really pushed them to give me like that leadership space. So yeah, it was interesting time, but grateful for it as well.
A lot of like people is on the fence about like last year, where it was either it was a really really good year or a really really bad year, and like for me it was like one of those like years where I guess it started off like it was real bad, but by the end of the year I'm just like, this is like one of the best years I've had in my life. You know, I learned a lot
Yeah.
and gained a lot from it as well.
Yeah, I agree. And a big lesson in mindfulness that I've been working on and work on with my clients is things can be more than one thing, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like you can be more than one thing, or you can feel more than one thing. Like something can be sad and hard and suck, but you can also find different things there as well. And you don't have to dispel or like push down a feeling to have another feeling. They can all exist, at once.
So it's like one of those things about like more about embracing it instead of just trying to block it out.
Yeah.
Because like it seems like that's one of those things where if you try to block it out, it just makes it worse because you're trying to act like it's not there, but when it's very like well there.
Exactly.
So it's like for I realized like during the pandemic, during that stretch, it was like a lot of people when behind closed doors, a lot of the problems that they had like built up, that was like the time when like everything like hit home, when all of those things that they was blocking out, it's like there's nowhere to go. You got to really like sit here and think about it. So I know for like a lot of people that dictated how like the year like ended. So I know like it was probably like a lot for you to deal with last summer with how many vibes was like going on like at once. How did it at any point get like stressful or overwhelming?
Yeah, of course. And I think, yeah, and I had a lot of hats when I was doing more there. Now that now everything I'm doing at work is related to practice with grace, which is great. But before I was like doing administrative stuff, and I was like I was seeing people therapeutically, like social work wise, like case managing, and
Yeah.
it was so many different things that did get overwhelming. I think now it being more focused has helped me, but also like starting something on your own and putting yourself out there, as you know, probably starting your podcast and stuff, that can be scary as well. But so, different feelings, but
Yes, it's one of those things where sometimes it's like I'm up for it, then other times it's like, am I really up for it? Do I know what I really signed up for? You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
but for me, what keeps me just going through it is just like it's a part of it, you know, and just experiencing it while going through it is the most important thing. Because all the times when we look back, it's all the times it ain't as bad as we thought it was from that very exact moment of when we was in it. So that's what makes me like just keep like pressing on.
yeah. No, I agree for sure.
So I just try to like influence people and try to get people to do the same exact thing. Like, and a lot of that to me, you have to be mindful about who you are like as a person in order to like experience everything that's going on around you in a way where it's like personalized for you. So what is like some like easy ways for people to start like getting into, I guess, being mindful about what they're doing and who they are and their emotions?
Yeah. So there's so many ways to be mindful, and I think that's the exciting part of what I do, because I can find something that works for everybody, right? Because some people might not really love to sit through like a 30-minute practice, right? Or it looks different for everybody. But also my practices, even like the more classic guided meditations like that you did, they're still very different than a normal meditation. I try to even steer away from the word meditation and just call them practices, because we do a little different. So I think for people on their own, like how to get started. How to get started would be first to start thinking about it, right? And what it means to you. I think when I found a definition of what it meant to me was when it sunk in. And I actually read it somewhere, and it always stuck with me. And it was a long time ago that I read it, and I just like came across it. But somebody that was talking about mindfulness and just living a mindful life talked about it as being the best parent to yourself. So like thinking about when you think about an amazing parent and you think about all the qualities that they have, like the things that they do, embodying that, but turning it into yourself. So like being present, right? Being caring, not judging, right? All of these things that make a great parent, trying to learn how to do that for yourself. And that looks very different.
Everybody, that's crazy. That's actually, that kind of blew my mind. I'm not even going to lie.
Me too.
That was a good.
It's so me. So like more concrete things though people can do are like do like any task that you have during the day, start to try to pick one of them and just do that task. Like when you're in the shower, see if you can just shower. Like don't plan, don't not be there, and like try to feel the water, try to feel the soap, smell the soap, like just shower. Or when you're maybe take a walk. And a lot of times we listen to music or we talk to people or we text if we go on a walk or something. But sometimes I tell people, like, see what happens, just go for a walk without your phone, and like look around you and take in the walk, take in the smells, take in what you see, and pay attention to your thoughts and your feelings, because they're gonna probably come up when you're not on your phone, right? and then you can try to not run from the things that you're thinking and feeling.
And that one thing that you just said. I talked about that. Like I talk about that on this podcast, like a lot, about how a lot of things that we trained ourselves to do is just like, distract ourselves from ourselves, with like that inner voice that's always trying to talk to us and communicate with us. Like we're always on our phone, we're always looking to do this, we're always looking to do that, instead of sometimes just going out for a walk with nothing and just, be with yourself and just really like focus on everything that's going on around. And like I totally agree. Like these are like great ways to start practicing like mindfulness, just like in your everyday life.
Yeah.
Because it's crazy how our thoughts can just pull us away so quickly from what we're doing, and how hard it is to maintain just holding on to that focus. That's extremely difficult.
Yeah, and it's really scary too. And I want to always acknowledge that with my clients and with myself. Like I'm not perfect with that either. I think there's a lot of times when that seems like it's going to be the worst thing for you sometimes. And I will say, when you get to that hill, that challenge, when you like get over that hump and you do stick with it instead of distracting yourself, you'll be kind of amazed. You'll be amazed and you learn a lot, and it is scary. And like also a part of it is being kind to yourself and being like, this is scary and that's okay. And I'm not a bad person, or I'm not weak for wanting to distract myself. Like that's normal. So I think a lot of what I try to do with my clients too is just foster like the non-judgment and the self-compassion, because we are so hardwired in our brains to judge ourselves and to be mean to ourselves for every decision. And I just really try with my clients to be mindful of that voice in your head, the mean one, the self-critical one, because the more mindful you are of it, the more you can respond to it with kindness and care. and you can slowly start to care for that part of you and quiet that a little bit and just be nicer to yourself. I think that's one of my favorite parts about it as well. That self-love component.
I totally agree. I heard something on some YouTube video that I heard with Dave Chappelle talking, and it was him talking about what he thought his definition of courage was. And there's just the fact of not showing that you're not scared, but accepting the fact that you're scared, but you're not letting it affect you. And that for me was just like, wow, that made me look at life totally different
Yeah.
from like pretty much like what you just said. Like a lot of the things that like I've done to like, be a better version of myself, it was scary things where I was leaving my comfort zone of things that's like, unknown to me, but still just going through with it and just being okay with me being scared or nervous about what I was doing, and oftentimes it was more beneficial than not, and just to even acknowledge those things when it comes about again, it's just like I experienced this before. I know what this is like, and this can't stop me from doing whatever it is that I'm trying to do. So, how do you, in that aspect, how do you get people to be more mindful about that, and how do you help them like deal with that?
It is a process. And I think first off, acknowledging that, like, I'm not gonna, if you have a really intense critical voice, I have a really funny client. I'm gonna share something that she says. She have you've seen the meme with like the like evil Kermit, right? Like the Kermit with the hood. Okay. So she has like imagined and used visualization, like that's her self-critic. Is that. And like, so we have fun. And I mean, we like help. Sometimes people really do better when they visualize things to make it more like concrete. And she's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think it's acknowledging first that it's a process to change that voice, because if you've been talking to yourself that way for 25 years or 28 years or 40 years or 50 years, it's going to be hard to respond to that differently. So it's a process, but definitely the first step is being mindful of when it's happening. And also not judging yourself for judging yourself, which puts you in this like judge spiral, and it's awful. So I think that's the first step. But we do a lot of affirmations, which are helpful. We do a lot of processing too. Like, why am I judging myself for this? Where does that come from? Where does this critical voice come from? All of those things are important to think about, to talk about. I always recommend my clients, depending on what's going on, that they're also in therapy at the same time, because this isn't a replacement, for mental health treatment. And this is like an add-on, right? It's like an app that you have on your phone. It's one more thing to do that can support that process. And I think the combination of mindfulness with other mental health support can just be so great. They complement each other so well. But yeah, I always like really emphasize, if that self-critic is like bad, that you're not just with me. You're getting some other help to change that voice, because that can lead to a lot of mental health challenges. A lot of people that experience anxiety and depression have a pretty mean voice in their head. So
Yeah.
so it's important to also be utilizing mental health supports. But yeah, mindfulness is a great add-on. And also, all of my clients see a therapist, but what happens is things will come up in our practices that they haven't even realized before, that they'll write down, and they'll be able to take it to therapy with them and have a better therapy session because of what we did.
And that's crazy because like for me, even when I started getting into mindfulness, these are the things that it made me honestly want to start writing things down. When certain that's like, that was like honestly the game changer. Once I started writing certain things down, especially with certain emotions or like, you know, my goals and everything, it just made me like everything else outside of me. It's like I was living from the inside out, you
That's
know.
mindfulness. Journaling is a mindful activity. And so that's another thing that people can do. I mean, that's a couple of my clients are excellent writers and they love journaling. So I give them journaling prompts, and that's their mindfulness more than the classic meditation, right? I'll give them journaling prompts and we'll talk about them. Because that's, yeah, what you're doing right there is mindfulness. It doesn't need to be meditation, right? You're already doing mindfulness by doing that journaling that you're doing. So
This is crazy. My mind is being blown right now as we speak, but it's crazy. This is all like, I'm the type of person where, and I recently noticed this with myself, where I I do things not being mindful that I'm doing them, and I keep doing them, and out of nowhere I'm mindful about what I'm doing, and that like basketball 100% has like got me to that point, you know. Through basketball, it has taught me like I was mindful throughout that whole entire process, and that made me start writing things down and writing things that I'm seeing and my goals and everything. But then out of nowhere, I started applying it to other things, not knowing. I just picked up on a behavior that I learned from basketball, but it took mindfulness like to a whole like different like level. That's why I was like, being in that mindful class like that that you was guiding us through, I don't, it was like natural for me. Like that's why like it felt good, even though it was like the first time I ever did it. It just felt like natural. But when I was done, it was like, whoa, like time just went by.
does really fly. And that's something I really try to do. And I, in my practices at least, and what I think makes my classes and the practices that, I've created different than the already existing things out there that are also great. But I think the difference for me is I've taken my own struggles and my own things that I was skeptical about with it. And that's how I run my practices. Like I am when I'm leading them, I'm very engaging and I basically never stop talking. I don't know if you noticed that, but like I pretty much talk the whole time because I'm consistently giving you questions and prompts and guidance, right? Like I never stop. But I think that can be really helpful, especially when you're getting started, to help it feel more natural for you.
Yeah, because like, you know, the very first thing which I really really like is just that it starts off with just like focusing on your breathing, and that really like gets you like mindful about yourself, and you starting to be aware about what's going on like inside of you,
Yeah.
and really start to see like, weirdly enough, like visually you start to see your emotions like swirling around everywhere, you know, all over the place, you know, and that breathing helps you start like focusing on that, and weirdly enough it's just like it starts to slow down. Everything feels like it's slowing down. So it's just like that's like the very first thing, which like, you know, I realized like this is pretty cool. And it's also like very beneficial because think about, you know, we breathe every every moment. If you're not, something's up. You need to, you know, something's up. But you know, as long as you're breathing, you can always, you know, practice like being aware and taking those deep breaths. It's just I see how quickly you can like start to like calm yourself down and like get your settle in.
And there's so many different breath work practices and so much to do there that can be incredibly helpful, especially, yeah, if you get physical symptoms of anxiety, which a lot of people that have anxiety do, right? Like racing heart, can't breathe, sick stomach, right? Those physical symptoms with some of this deep breath work can just be like kind of life changing. So I have some clients that we do like a ton of different breaths. It's funny once you start to see how many different things there are. You never thought there could be so many different ways to breathe.
Yeah, like I was just talking to you like the other day about the lion's breath.
Yeah.
That in like your newsletter. I was like, whoa, what is the lion's breath? Like,
Love that. That's a great one for anger. If you're feeling angry, to do that breath, because you're loud, you like roar. But, and I think, and to talk about emotions, right, and being with emotions, that's my biggest thing. As you know, you've been to my class, like being with our emotions is the top of the priority list, for me at least. And some of them feel so bad, like anger is maybe the most uncomfortable feeling for people to experience, at least at least from what I've seen. People don't want to be angry. It doesn't feel good. So they run from it and they push it down. But then that anger, like it like rots and it like festers and it turns into like anxiety, turns into depression. It comes out in ugly ways to people that we didn't mean it to touch, right? It's like,
that makes so much sense. It's like it's going somewhere. It's not like it's going somewhere.
It's not gone. So we have to feel our anger. And so many people need help with that. And because anger is just it's so hard. So yeah, just talking about breathing, the lion's breath is such a great one to use if you're feeling angry. So I love that one. Yeah.
See, and that, like, I didn't even know until, like, all right, for those of you guys listening, you guys got to tune in. Of course, he's going to put everything in the description on how to contact her, the newsletters and everything that we're talking about. But like when I seen that, I was just like, whoa, like, you know, and I'm sitting there reading through and I'm listening to the meditation of it. I'm like, oh man, I'm about to be in here like screaming and yelling, going crazy. Somebody gonna be like, oh man, what's going on in that house? I'm about to call the cops.
I'm sure.
But nah, it's like that, all of that stuff is like pretty cool. So pretty much it's different mindfulness techniques that you can take with different emotions that you're feeling.
Yeah. And I mean, in general, a lot of the practices, you can specify them, right, to different emotions. But I have one that's pretty general that I just call, it's a guided practice that I do a lot with people. And it's just being with any tough emotion. And I sort of help people walk through how to be with it, to feel it, and to accept it and to like let it pass. So I feel feelings with people for a living. That's kind of like I'm there kind of holding your hand through a tough feeling, because sometimes to do your day as a coping mechanism, you do kind of have to compartmentalize, right? Like you have to put it somewhere because you have to go to work, you have to do these things, and right. Then they'll come to this kind of safe, brave space with me and they'll be like, okay, now I have this moment that I can take this out and I can process this and I can feel this and I can be with it here with you. I'm not alone, right? Because that feels good to even have someone with you. And that's something I do a lot with clients. So yeah, depending on the emotion, yeah, it can change a little bit, but in general, just sort of walking through feeling something tough.
And that's like for you, like I asked you this before, but when do you like give yourself that time with dealing with all, like it's your job, like it's your life, and it's just like when do you have time to like hone in on yourself and just be like, all right, get back to base?
Yeah, I mean, I think I will say selfishly, even though I am working with other people and their feelings, it's always a reminder when I'm working with people to do it for myself. Like it really integrates it into my life. But even when I'm working with people, right, I'll even think of things going on for myself and I'll be like, and it's a reminder. It's a good reminder for me. So it does really actually help me in my life, like to keep it really just integrated into my life. But you know, just like anyone, I have my self-care routine, and that's there. And I try to utilize all the things that I've created and practice what I preach, for sure. I try.
This is how I know that you're practicing what you preach. Like I said not too long ago, you know, I'm sitting here. You guys didn't see me. I'm sitting on the other side of this camera, freaking out. Like I don't know, computer. Just how she is now. She was like, "Well, it's okay. We're going to fix out. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, technology hates me. It's like, nope, it's all good. We're gonna figure this out. And she's literally practicing what she preaches because like eventually those vibes seeped over to me, and I was like, all right, I need to cool out. Just we're gonna just figure this out, instead of me just start panicking. But this is like one of those exact moments where just me being mindful even got us to this point, which
Yeah.
is great. You're natural.
Oh, thank you. I mean, and it takes me a lot of practice as well. Like I'm not, but I think that's why I can relate to people so heavily and deeply is like, I'm not somebody that is sitting here like a yoga, like expert meditating blank mind, like this person that's so like ethereal or like, you know what I mean? I don't have that. I'm not naturally like that, right? It's been a journey and a practice for me. So that in that way though, I can understand what people are going through and I can help them because I know what it's like. And it's still, I still have to practice. I still have my moments. Trust me, my family, my friends, my partner would be like, yeah, Grace isn't like a Zen master. I'm definitely not. But but I think that's what makes it so great, is that I know the challenges that you're facing. I'm not a natural Buddhist monk, right? So
Pretty cool that you get the practice with us as well. So it's just not like an outside experience. You're actually going through it right with us. You know what I mean? So you're guiding us and guiding yourself as well. And that's pretty crazy. So I know like that means that every single day it's the same day, but it's like a different feel every single day with being mindful. And I need to I need to take my mindfulness to another level. I want to learn like different like breathing techniques more than like the lion breaths and everything, because what I notice like through different breathing techniques that you can try and practice, it like gets you like extremely focused depending on like I guess the type of breathing that you do and being able to control like your breathing in like any given situation. So is there even breathing techniques to like deal with like high pressure situations?
oh yeah. And right now I will do I'll give you this information. I literally have this book right here because it is my everything. It's like always, it's in my workstation. It's called The Power of Breath Work. It's by an author named Jennifer Patterson, who I actually know. I know her. So I'm plugging for her right now. But this book is so amazing. And it is just filled with breath work practices for different situations, exactly like what you're talking about. And these
Right.
are so good. It's so good. I'll give you the information.
I'm gonna need
Yeah,
most
it's
definitely.
on Amazon. It's really affordable, and it's just like it is just never ending like plethora of like and like there's awesome diagrams, and it's just the best book.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
I got
awesome.
because this is I know like there's breathing like techniques out there. Well, I guess like different ones, but I didn't know, that people there was specific ways to reach different states of minds and different emotions through like breathing. That's crazy.
And this author, she does breath work with people who have experienced trauma. So she does trauma informed breath work. She helps people heal from traumas, and so her whole book is informed by that, which I love and I think is really special. So it's pretty amazing.
I noticed like the one thing that I do is like I'm like big in like sports and everything, but I noticed like with people that's like highly competitive, like in that kind of way where how they're breathing and their mindfulness, it's like go hand in hand, which is just like for example, somebody that's not used to being in like what I just was talking about, a high pressure situation, how like controlling your breathing in those situations can make it seem like, for instance, somebody that's like pretty much in a frantic mind state while all of this going on, make it seem like everything is moving so fast, but to them, everything's moving slow because they're knowing what's going on. They're real mindful about where they at. And I feel as though that to me has a lot to do with their breathing. I know it is.
Yeah. And also another thing I'll add to that is just for anyone who's listening and for you, like set a little goal from this point on, maybe through the rest of your day to see, or maybe especially during a work day, to see if there's times when you're holding your breath. Because a lot of times when we're starting to get stressed or we're like writing an email we're nervous about or we're stressed, you'll start to hold your breath. You'll stop breathing. And that actually massively increases your anxiety and all those things you're talking about, right? Like fast heart, all those things. And you'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm holding my breath. Like I need to do some deep breaths here. Yeah. And it'll change how you react and how you handle challenges.
Because sometimes I'm not even gonna lie, what you just said, I do catch myself doing that sometimes where I'm just like,
You're not breathing. Yeah. It's funny. It's all the time when I'm writing emails. That's when I'm like writing an email I'm like nervous or stressed about and I'm having a hard time with it. I'll be like, Grace, are you breathing? And I'm holding my breath. And then because that affects your brain and how you're thinking, right? If you're not getting like that oxygen to your brain because you're holding your breath.
yeah, going to sitting there going blue in the face like,
Well, no, not to that extent, but you know what I mean? Like you'll just kind of be like,
yeah, and then or you just start breathing again, and you're just like, what just happened? But you're not acknowledging the fact that you just sat there and paused for a little bit and didn't like take a breath or anything.
yeah, really breathe from like your belly and really feel like get that oxygen to your brain and circulating, and it also will drop your blood pressure and your heart rate. And you can't really think clearly when your heart is racing or you're up here. So
that's insane. And honestly, I think that through doing like these things, there's so many beneficial things that come from practicing being mindful. And like a lot of it to me, like personally, it gave me like clarity on a lot of things and like a sense of purpose and like a direction rather than if I wasn't mindful, it seemed like any and everything would be a good direction to like go and head into. And obviously that's not the case. And being aware of those things is just like it helps you like I said develop that clarity. And that's why I think that what you're doing, like I said like in the beginning of this podcast, is highly important because it helps out with things like such as that. Because you start to really like understand yourself, you start to like, yourself out.
yeah, you just take, and that's how I start every class. I'm like, no matter what like we're trying to do here today, this is 30 minutes for you to be with yourself, to be with you. And what, think of all the possibilities that could mean, right? But like to just, how often during the day are we ever just with ourselves? Never. Like never. And it's like, yeah, you, like you said, like you can learn so much about yourself and grow and learn so much. And some of it's just like some of it's hard. There's discomfort. Like it's not always easy, but that's where we grow. And I think you're exactly right. You can learn so much about yourself when you just take a minute to turn in and be with yourself.
And to me, in like today's society, I think that it wasn't like on purpose, but naturally people are doing things with so many distractions, how fast we can receive information, that now it's becoming incredibly hard for people to become mindful about themselves due to the fact, like we said earlier, it's just distractions all around. And now it's like at the point where you got advertisements and products that just want your attention. Like that's their job. It's like, yo, I need it now. So that makes it like even like harder. So is there any ways to be like combative about those things? Because I think that a lot of people, it's like a brick wall between them even understanding that.
Like, what do you mean combative of all the messaging that you're getting? Or
Yeah, where you being able to like really start focusing on yourself instead of letting the distractions always.
so yeah, and I think yeah, you're right. There's so many distractions at our fingertips. If we start to feel a feeling, we're like, nope, I don't like this. I'm gonna get on TikTok, right? Like that's happens. Or like you said, yeah, like even when you're walking down the street, you see an advertisement, you're listening to music, there's like a Spotify out, it's all everywhere. So I think, and also even more problematic behaviors, a lot of behaviors that tend to really hurt us and hurt our lives are, a lot of that is coming from trying to not feel something, right? Like if let's say like I have an issue with a substance, right? A lot of that comes from not wanting to feel a feeling. So I'm going to go to this substance because it allows me to not address what's going on here, right? Or TikTok even as a very, not a serious issue, or Instagram or whatever.
Yeah, literally what you just said is just like, yet again, everybody that's listening, I will probably put this on the shirt again. Like, like I said on my previous podcast, but I like the stuff that you said is like the reason why, like, honestly, I ended up in the position where like I started being mindful because like, substance abuse and everything that was going on like in my life, I realized I was blocking a lot of things out instead of like firsthand like dealing with it, and that just honestly made the problems stack up, stack up, stack up. That by the time I looked at the pile, I'm like, wow, we got a lot of work to do. But all in all, it's like, this ain't that bad.
And also to offer yourself, I mean, the fact that you were able to see that and be mindful there, and like you asked me, a way to combat it, and I think the way to combat it and the best way to start is honestly to like be nice to yourself. Like it's not your fault. That's the way the human brain is wired. Like that's what's around us. That's the world we live in, these advertisements, right? Like start by, of course we want to be accountable. I mean, not you can't be like nothing's my fault, but like, but the urge to distract yourself or to engage in that is fully natural, and it makes it worse when you judge yourself and you're mean to yourself. You're actually going to do it more. So, and that's a really hard first step. It sounds simple, but it's usually the one that takes the longest, is just not being so harsh on yourself and offering yourself the same kindness that you give to everyone else is the best way to combat anything, in my opinion. So
That is a great, great, great answer. And that note, people, this is the end of the podcast episode. Thank you, Grace, yet again for being on the show. I really, really, really appreciate it. And tell the people how they can reach out to you.
okay, you can reach out to me via my website, which I can give that to you, right? So they have it. You can reach out to me via my website. It's mindfulpracticeforall.com. And my email link and everything is on there. Also, I have a social media account, which is the same as the website. It's Mindful Practice for All on Instagram. So you can follow me there. And yeah, I would love to hear from anyone at all, even if you just have a question or you want to chat. I'm happy to talk.
All right, and I'm gonna put all of those, everything in the descriptions, for you guys. And also, please check out her practices. Everything, her website is really, really awesome stuff. Yet again, thank you, Grace. Serve your purpose, everybody. Grace is doing hers, and I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's stop recording.